Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridharadhari Asoranandana Bhajana Randana Asoranandana Bhajana Randana Samunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridharadhari Jaya Gopidana Vallabha Giridharadhari Asoranandana Bhajana Randana Asoranandana Bhajana Randana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Vaishnava Prabhupada Prabhupada Ki Jai Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Gopal Nandi Oh, glory to devotees, oh, glory to devotees, oh, glory to devotees, oh, glories to Shigu and Shiganga. So, Garuda is AWOL, so I've been asked to speak something. So, obviously we're all familiar with the pastime, but it's always for our purification to listen to it again and again. So, in chapter 24, of the Krishna book, Worshipping Govardhana Hill, Prabhupada describes that in this chapter, Lord Sri Krishna crushes the pride of Indra by prohibiting a sacrifice intended for him and initiating a substitute sacrifice in the worship of Govardhana Hill, Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. So when young Krishna was seeing everybody busy organising a sacrifice, young Krishna went to see his father, Nanda Maharaj, and said, "My dear father, what is it you're doing? You're organising so many sacrifice paraphernalia and edibles and all sorts of things." So Nanda Maharaj was thinking, how can I explain what we're doing to this young boy? But anyway, he tried because Krishna was asking. So he explained that the rain is given by Indra, so we have to worship Indra, so we'll get the rain. And in this way, the pastures will be nourished and the cows will be happy and they'll give milk, and from milk we'll get all sorts of wonderful milk products such as ghee, etc. We can perform the sacrifice. So, but Krishna, he said, he didn't think that was a very good proposal. He said it's only because of karma alone that the living entities take their birth in a certain body, experience varieties of happiness and suffering in that body, and then give it up as karma pertaining to it runs out. Thus it is karma alone that is our enemy, our friend, our guru, our Lord, and Indra can do nothing to alter our happiness and distress. So basically this is the philosophy of karma mamamsa, that the demigods, they have to provide because that's a sort of duty. I mean, whether they get worshipped or not, still that's their obligation. That's there, and whether you worship or not. And he made the example that when the rain comes, sometimes it rains in the ocean, sometimes it rains on the rocks and the barren ground. So there's nobody behind it. It's just random. So. Just according to we perform our karmic duties and everything is coming. So this is the argument. So he encouraged his father that instead of worshipping Indra, we should worship Govardhana Hill, because Govardhana Hill is actually providing everything we need. It's providing the grass for the cows, it's providing sweet water in the lakes, it's providing fruits and roots and caves to take shelter in from the heat. So many things Govardhana is providing. So instead of worshipping this Indra, let's worshipping Govardhana Hill, because ultimately Krishna could understand that Indra was under the influence of pride, that he's the king of heaven, and he's been offered this puja, and he's very puffed up because of his situation. Of course, the demigods are devotees, but sometimes they get a bit illusioned in their position. And Krishna never likes to see his devotees come under the influence of pride. So, therefore, this whole arrangement was there ultimately by Krishna to curb the pride of his devotee Indra. So he encouraged his father, you've got all this paraphernalia, this foodstuffs, instead of offering to Krishna, to Indra, let's offer it to Govardhana Hill. So eventually Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men were convinced, so they inquired to him, so how should we do this? So he explained that worshipping Govardhana Hill with the paraphernalia collected for Indra, and we circumambulate Govardhana Hill with the cows in front, and then everybody enjoy opulent prasad. And at that time, he also assumed a huge form on Govardhana Hill, and he accepted all these offerings. So it was quite amazing that Krishna was there speaking to his father, and Krishna was there as a big form on Govardhana Hill. So simultaneously, all this was going on. And he was, with his big hands, this big form, sweeping all the offerings into his mouth. And he wanted more and more. He was chanting, Anior, Anior. Sometimes it's said the peacocks in Brudge, that's the noise they make. Anior, Anior. And they're saying, give me more, like that. So, so in that way, the Govardhana Hill Puja was enacted or arranged by the encouragement of young Krishna, and everybody enjoyed it so much. They because they're coming from an agricultural agrarian village, so the pastures, the cows, the dairy products, all the natural bounty coming from Govardhana Hill, that was all part of their life, and they fully depended on ultimately Krishna, but through Krishna's nature, the bounty and the opulence of nature to provide everything that they needed. And of course, Indra, he was very upset as a result that who was this young upstart, this young talkative boy, speaking, taking, stopping the yajna that was meant for me. And so he called the, cloud, Samstapika? Samataka clouds. So these clouds are invoked at the end of the devastation of the universe, at the end of the universe, and they flood basically the whole universe at the end. So these same clouds, they were summoned by Indra, and they all come down with Indra riding on his elephant carrier and flooded the whole Braj, Vrindavan area, because out of anger, we have in the Bhagavad Gita that the influence of anger, one becomes illusioned, bewildered of memory, and everything is destroyed as a result of that anger. So Indra, in the same way, influenced by pride and anger, he wanted to destroy everybody as a result, and trying to flood the whole Braj area, and everybody very in a distressed situation. You see, if anybody saw the footage of in Spain, they just had 1 year's worth of rain in 8 hours. And you see the flooded streets, it was like over your head, and all the cars just, floating down the street. It was just a raging torrent through the city. Pretty devastating. Quite a few... I think Vicentia or something it was, yeah. And many people have lost their lives. So you imagine 1 year's worth of rain in 8 hours, that's a lot. So this is what the residents of Vrindavan were experiencing. And, there was no, like normally there's valleys and hills, but everything was covered with water. So all the residents of Vrindavan and their animals, a very distressed situation. Their only shelter with Krishna, so they approached Krishna for help. And Krishna, by his transcendental potency, he was able to lift up Govardhana Hill, and everybody took shelter underneath. So, to acting like an umbrella. And for 7 days and 7 nights, he held up, you can see Krishna there, he's holding up his left hand with his little finger. So you can imagine the weakest part of the body. More people are right-handed than left-handed, but left-handed, little finger, the weakest part of the body. But he was holding it up for 7 days and 7 nights. Of course, the cowherd men, they were thinking, this is our young Baba, this is our young Krishna. He probably needs help. So with their sticks, they're holding up, thinking, we're actually holding it up. But but actually it was Krishna's potency that was holding up that mountain. And so giving shelter for all the residents of Vrindavan. And after 7 days and 7 nights, eventually there was a Sudarshan Chakra weapon. Was so much heat was drying up all that water. But whilst underneath, it said that, particularly the gopis, they had very little opportunity, the cowherd girls had very little opportunity to be in the direct association of Krishna, just due to the cultural situation, boys and girls mixing with each other. But there, for 7 days and 7 nights, they could just drink in Krishna's beauty unlimitedly, without any obstacles. And in so many ways, Krishna was able to fulfill the desires of the residents of Vrindavan. And then, as we know, eventually the water was dried up, and then everybody moved out, and he slowly lifted down that mountain. So sometimes, as mentioned, even Krishna, he predicted in Bhagavad Gita that, less intelligent person would just think I'm an ordinary person, very atheistic mentality. But how is it an ordinary person can lift up such a mountain? So when you're the Supreme Personality, there's nothing that's impossible for you to achieve. And so in this way, the residents of Vrindavan were protected from the inundation of Indra. And we know, as the story goes on, Indra afterwards realised that he'd made a great mistake, and he'd come down to apologise and offering all sorts of paraphernalia, but Krishna wasn't really moved by that. And all the cowherd boys, they thought it was funny that the demigods were coming down offering puja to their young friend Krishna. And they had a good laugh about that. Just because, they don't see Krishna as the Supreme Person. He's just one of us. There was a story, Hanumat Prasad Swami mentioned, I think it was 80s maybe, and he was in a book distribution party in the US, and there was one French devotee who was with them, very enthusiastic to distribute books. Anyway, they all come to Vrindavan on pilgrimage, and this French devotee, he was very enthusiastic with books, and the first day he was there, he took some books, Krishna book. He said, I'm going to distribute books to the locals. So he went out onto the street outside Krishna Balaram Mandir, and the first local he saw, he opened up the book. This is Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the local says, no, he's not, he's just one of us. And so this French devotee was really, he just turned around and went back into the temple again. He was really put into his place. But So the residents of Vrindavan, they just see Krishna as one of them. So the cowherd boys, they were having great fun laughing at these demigods. They're worshipping Krishna, just look at that. He's just one of our friends. And then they started imitating, offering different things to Krishna. Yeah, look at me, I'm offering. So they had a great fun time with that. But anyway, eventually Krishna accepted the apology of Indra. And Indra could understand that actually he made a grave mistake, that Krishna isn't simply a young talkative cowherd boy, but actually he's the Supreme Personality, the most worshipful of all beings in the universe. So anyway, that's a very quick overview of Govardhana Puja. I don't know if there's anybody wants to add to that. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Thanks for the class. I was just going to ask if you had any more information about what happened under the hill for 7 days.
Well, yeah, there's pictures in the Krishna book that Krishna is holding up, with his left hand, little finger, and everybody, including the cows, the cowherd boys, all the residents of Vrindavan were just staring at Krishna, drinking in his beauty. And so there was no hunger, there was no thirst, there was no hankering, lamentation. They were just in complete ecstasy 7 days, 7 nights, just drinking in Krishna's beauty. So that's pure love, you know. They're not interested in anything else beyond Krishna. So that's basically what was going on under the hill. Yeah. Yes, for Krishna Kirtan.
I can't recall the details, but actually under that hill is not like what we may think of, you know, damp and roots hanging out from it. It was very, very opulent, very, very beautiful. It was a whole celestial world under there.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a bunch of old dirt. And so there is descriptions, but I haven't heard for some time. Also, when you mentioned that Lord Indra was worshipping and then Prabhupada got put down, and the cowboys themselves picked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also started doing the arti. And that's just right, Krishna enjoyed that arti so much more than he did Indra's arti.
Yeah, it's a little bit like in the wrestling arena, that the big wrestlers were fighting Krishna and Balaram, and they were defeating these big wrestlers, you know. But afterwards, the cowherd boys started wrestling with Krishna and Balaram, and they were defeating Krishna and Balaram. So, and they enjoyed, Krishna and Balaram, like you say, they enjoyed that much more than fighting with the big wrestlers. So, yeah, very transcendental.
It's also this.
Yeah, it was.
When Krishna decided to go around his brother was on his horse, he walked over to go with the torrents of rain, the chariot got one drop of rain touching his body.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I know in in the 80s, I think, that the Kalia Krishna temple in Fiji was attacked by, some rascals, and they set it on fire, and actually the whole temple more or less was gutted. But Krishna Kalia deity was on the altar and completely untouched by the fire, even so much that even the water drops on the garland was still there. So, by his potency protected in the same way by, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Krishna is indeed in charge of all potencies. Okay, anything else? Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. So I think the program starts at 2:30 here, and festivities will start then. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.